resume reviews, interview prep, and then to all the work that I do for a lot of our students is helping find a job and internship opportunities for you. So if you're getting email leads from Megan Esposito, your career advisor, probably because I've talked to one of those companies, they're looking to hire awesome NOU students. But today's not about me. Part of the awesome work I get to do is actually get to bring in employers to actually chat about awesome opportunities and career insights. With that, we actually have Brookfield Properties team joining us today, part of their talent management team, one of their GMs here, at one of their Oak Brook locations. So let's give a big round of applause as we welcome them, and I'll hand it off to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Shelley. We are all really excited to be here, and I just wanted to give a brief introduction to myself. I am Dane Burns, and I am one of the corporate recruiters at Brookfield Properties. I am responsible for corporate recruitment and recruitment of all of our field properties, which is our malls. And so I'm joined here today by our associate corporate recruiter, Asta Junija, and our senior general manager, Serge Komliski. And just to give you some background insight on Brookfield, we are owned by a parent entity called Brookfield Asset Management, and they are one of the largest asset management companies globally. And within their portfolio, we are the retail sector. So we own and operate 120 retail properties across 40 states. And so this is today where we're joined by Serge, who is the general manager at Oak Brook Shopping Center. And he's going to be telling you about the career trajectory of what it looks like to be in the field, how you can get into the field. And then afterwards, if you have any questions on a recruitment level of what me or Ashta look for, don't hesitate to ask us any questions. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Otherwise, I will turn it over to Serge.
Thanks, Dane. Thanks. I know Dane said we own 140 properties. Without a doubt, Oak Brook is the number one in that list. And not being biased or anything because I'm there. But no, it is one of our crown jewel properties. Just so you guys know, I'm the senior general manager for Oak Brook Center. Has anybody been there?
Yeah.
All right. I joined Brookfield actually February of last year. So I was with Westfield before, similar company. So I oversaw Old Orchard Mall in Skokie. Has anybody been there? All right. We got a mall goer here. So yeah, I was there for about 12 years and I kind of fell into the industry. I started as an intern when I was in school. I went to Northeastern right here in the city. And I basically worked at Harlem Irving Plaza, which people call the Hip, as an intern. And then as I was graduating, it was like 2008 or 9. Yeah, pretty old now. The global financial crisis kind of hit, and looking for a job was really tough. So, and they couldn't really offer me a position, but it's kind of like you made that connection and you move on in your career. And I was actually doing financial planning and things like that, which was also tough during that time. Long story short, I worked for Enterprise for a little bit because they had a great management training program. I ended up running O'Hare Airport, which is one of their biggest branches. And then all of a sudden I get a call from the person I was an intern at the Hip. And they're like, hey, Westfield's looking for an assistant GM at Old Orchard Mall. I know you have some history with working the mall setting and kind of know the business a little bit. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I interviewed. After like 4 interviews, I was in, and then got promoted a couple times. And long story short, here we are at Oak Brook Center. So Oak Brook definitely is probably one of the top 10, top 15 shopping centers in the country in terms of productivity, traffic, and just overall success over the past decade. We see about 20 million people, 20 million visits a year from all over the Chicago area, and just tourism and a huge business community out there too. A lot of office and business people. We can go to the next slide. So bottom line on that whole career path story is make sure you remember your connections and maybe just keep in touch with them, because it's a huge, it could you never know, it could become an opportunity later on. If you boil it down on what we do, basically our mission is to create places for communities to thrive. Does anybody want to try to answer what that means, or what do you think that means from our business standpoint as a mall, any mall in the country? Everybody's scared. Oh,
Right.
So I'm assuming can you ask the question one more time?
just what do you think that mission statement means in our business?
So in your business, I would imagine that like you really would like to create like engagement with people, because like most corporate businesses want to talk like get people. So when you say create places for communities to thrive, it's like you're trying to create like little smaller spaces, or maybe even a bigger space where communication happens, customer engagement, different services, products,
Yeah,
like yeah, just keep the area bustling with like commotion.
totally, 100%. You got 50% of it. The other 50% is our focus is to really build up the surrounding area, the surrounding region, the community. We bring jobs to towns. We redevelop shopping centers to fit the needs of the community, bring tax dollars into the community to build roads, bridges, community programs. So it takes it way further in our business to really support the local region and really be part of that community. And we really are in every town that we're in. That's like the whole other half that usually people don't think about. It's, most of the time people think it's transactional. I go to a store, I buy something, but it's a meeting area. It creates jobs, tax dollars for the whole,
So
for the whole town.
that's cool.
Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? Kind of a little bit what we talked about. A lot of the things that I do with my team, we manage the day-to-day operations of the property. It's a 2.4 million square foot facility. It's got 3 office buildings on it and about 200 retailers. And that can go from anything from Claire's to Alo Yoga to Louis Vuitton to Neiman Marcus to Gucci. They're all there. Any retailer that wants to be in a mall usually will come to Chicago and want to be at Oak Brook as one of the first, either Oak Brook or downtown Chicago, obviously. I think you alluded to it. The main function is how can we improve the customer experience from a day-to-day standpoint? And obviously we talked about the community supporting everybody. But how do we make the experience better and better? And how do we kind of evolve with the times? And that's kind of what we focus on every day, whether it's thinking of new marketing programs to support our luxury wing and have like a champagne walk through all the like YSL or Gucci or whatever it is, where customers can listen to music and just kind of check out what the latest fashion is. Also, from my standpoint as a leader on the property, I work closely with our development leasing people because I'm usually there. I'm the one talking to the mayor of the town. I'm the one talking to the board of trustees, and kind of have a pulse on what will work, what the community wants, what will be successful here. So a lot of times we'll put our heads together and say, we don't have this retailer in this category of stores, and this could be really, successful here or something like that. Or even updating the common area, like the walkways that are in the mall, like maybe say people get lost in this area, maybe we create a bridge to connect them to the other side, like really thinking outside of the box, things like that. And my team includes Brookfield people as well as third-party contractors. So we're talking construction people, housekeeping, engineering, maintenance, security, you name it. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. We can go to the next slide. I threw this slide in here just to show the evolution of where we've been. I think a lot of people talk about malls, especially like I grew up in a time like people my generation think when online shopping came about, it was like revolutionary, which it really was. And just to think you could buy a shirt or shoes or whatever online was like a huge deal when I was growing up. But I feel like the younger generation really actually wants to interact with the brand and see what they're all about. If you really think about it, Apple started opening their stores when online shopping was starting to become a thing. And they truly decided to have those locations because they knew the relationship they would build with their customers would immensely overshadow any online store where you could buy an iPhone. I don't think the iPhone would be the iPhone if it wasn't for that point. Walk by any Apple store today, it's slammed. And that's kind of how we see it. It's a symbiotic relationship. I don't think it was ever going to take away from brick and mortar. People really want to explore, feel, touch, and actually like experience the brand when you're in the space. Like Aritzia, they have like really cool music, higher fashion, really loud. You feel like you're in a club half the time. Like it's a vibe. You know what I mean? So like you want to feel the vibe of the brand. But yeah, I mean, it started 1962 at Oak Brook. Everybody at that time came for the anchors, like the Marshall Fields, the Sears, and those guys were usually like the developers of malls because they wanted to drive traffic to their stores and have like ancillary things, and it kind of ballooned over the years into what we know as malls today. And up until today, we just opened Built. I don't know if have you guys heard of that brand, BYLT? It started completely online. They never had any brick and mortar stores. This is the first full line store they've opened. We just had Cole Kmet last Saturday from the Bears hang out there and sign autographs and sell jerseys. And we had literally this store, like there's a line all the way out to the parking lot, and it's it was nuts.
And it's clothing?
Yeah, it's like a more affordable price point as I don't know, like Lulu, but more tailored for guys, I think. There's a women's line, but I think Lulu, focus on women's more, and I think Built is kind of opposite. So we can go to the next slide. Just a little bit more of what I was talking about. Like we try to put enough categories to have a good mix, and we continue to evolve this. When I talk to our development folks or leasing people, like, hey, we would love another, addition to the athleisure. Who's hot right now? How can we beef that up? What restaurant are we missing? What cuisine are we missing? We kind of go through, like, do we have Mediterranean? We have Japanese? Do we have Indian or sushi or ramen? To really have that whole mix. You know what I mean? So it's, we really think about it as categories and not individual retailers, if that makes sense. We can go to the next slide. And this is kind of what I was talking about before. This is my team. I'm the senior general manager. We have 3 operations, or I have an AGM. We have 3 ops people. We could go to the next slide. Senior property management associate, which deals with pop-ups and like we have a Barbie truck coming to Oak Brook, which like people follow around, or like this Hello Kitty truck that comes every year that literally I showed up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday and there's a line around the mall for a Hello Kitty. I'm like, they don't have enough shit in that trunk to help all these people. You know what I mean? Like it's just really popular. And I have 2 amazing administrative assistants. They've actually been with the property for over 30 years each. So I learn more from them than I have forgotten already. That's kind of my spiel on the business and my path, and wanted to see if anybody had any questions for me. Yes, sir.
So when it comes to like ordering trucks or like is that still a part of your like mission plan to like get more like community engagement and like build communities?
Of course, yeah. That's our number one plan, because we kind of work together with the towns that we're in with, like, so the GMs are usually really close with the mayors of those towns. So even when I was in Old Orchard, I would grab lunch with the mayor of Skokie all the time just to talk about what's important to them and how do we fit into that mix. You know what I mean? So like part of the tax thing that I was talking to you about, Old Orchard has been pretty successful in Skokie, where Part of the platform that like the mayor runs on is we're not going to raise your property tax, at least on the Skokie side, because Old Orchard really helps you with that. So we're helping all the community save money on their taxes and building jobs and all those types of things, and just improving the community, roads, bridges, community events and programs too.
Great question.
Can you talk about some of those events and, how many, I think we talked about the car show that you guys host over the summer, or is it Father's Day? The Olympia Rodrigo show. It's just,
movies in the park.
yeah.
Another one in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, those are all shopping center events that we do. Like the car show one, we partner with a different charity almost every year, and we get, I want to say, double the amount of if you filled Soldier Field in one day on Father's Day every year for that car show, because it's been going for 55 years already. So like they have everything from Lamborghinis to Model Ts. So it's really cool. And that we kind of interact with the community that way. Go ahead.
So,
Yeah, sorry. What are you guys? Yeah.
Oh, I was so if a company wanted their store to be in the mall, they will contact you guys, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and a follow-up question. Would you guys ever replace a store with a more like known store? Like if other people prefer this store, would y'all ever like if it's no space and one store had to go, would y'all ever replace a store with another store?
It's a tricky question. I think that's possible for sure. It all depends on the type of deal we have with the store that's currently in place, what kind of lease they have, because they all have rights. Like we're not in the business of kicking people out. It's really working with them. So maybe in that scenario, we might work with a new retailer and say, hey, we really want you to be here, but we may need to wait 6 months to start construction because we want to find a space for this retailer or a different, you know what I mean? It's with 200 spaces and 200 retailers, trust me, there's plenty of like musical chairs that we do with all the spaces. So like, for example, like I currently have Tory Burch. Canada Goose wants to go into Tory Burch. Tory Burch wants a Casper space, the mattress store. And then we're putting Casper in a paper source space. That's literally happening right now. So it's always like a game of how do we optimize all the districts, you know what I mean, while keeping them happy because they want to do business with us too, and they want to stay. So as long as they're doing business, we're successful. Go ahead.
I've got a question because I'm a business major and I'm kind of like undecided about my minor. I'm interested in marketing and accounting, but I was wondering like what advice would you give like a college student and like undecided about what avenue they want to go?
Yeah, I was a marketing major because I couldn't figure out what else I'd like to do, and I thought that was broad enough, and like I liked the creative side of marketing, and I actually when I interned at the HIP, I was intern of the marketing director there directly. So all I'll say is you have no idea the people that you meet today might be in positions to help you in 3-4 years when you graduate. Networking is key. And that's like, I put some notes down on just interview prep. Like, don't be afraid to go on LinkedIn or create a LinkedIn account or basically any social media or ask around. Like, if you're applying to a company after you graduate, right? You should try to find out if you have a cousin or a friend or a cousin's friend or a friend's parent or anybody who has any connection to that company, because if you can at least get somebody to nudge you to the top of the list, because they get tons and tons of resumes, you just get that slight edge. So like, don't be afraid to reach out to your network. I think that's huge. Not saying like it's only who you know, but it just gives you that extra nudge. Right.
I just want to say real quick, there's 3 brand new people in the room that you can test with your network.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just so you know,
Yeah.
it's a reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
what's the process of stores getting in this?
It's complicated. Like I said, the musical chairs thing. So you have to find out everybody's timeline. So in that example, you have to find out what Tory Burch is going to be happy with on their construction side. When is their busy season? Casper's mattress busy season might be totally different than Tory Burch, and so on and so forth. So like kind of working all that together. Sometimes we'll have a lease signed and wouldn't start construction for a whole year, depending on how complicated the deal is.
Do you guys take in small businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of them do pop-ups because they don't want to do the commitment of like a 10-year lease. So like we have a guy who started a business that's they're like those kids cars that look like Lamborghinis or Hummers and stuff like that. So he's a small business, local guy, and opened his shop.
Do you guys deny people?
Um,
Like certain companies, like
well, I mean, it depends on what it is. If it's something like that's aggressive or it's not like family friendly or something like that, it may be something that we might pass on. Because we want to be able to say that anybody can be safe and comfortable walking through our center. So, yes.
We had a couple.
Oh, sorry.
vendors.
I'll come back to you. I promise. You're really active. Thank you.
Good question.
Did you have one before?
Oh, and you had a question maybe before you see. You remember your question?
In your timeline slide, you mentioned one of your worst enemies, which is online shopping.
Mhm.
So
I never said that. You said
it's gonna be
that.
revolutionary.
They're our friends, like because they're opening stores with us.
Yeah, but how does that look like during COVID season when you're trying to keep retention up and you have online shopping taking most of your clientele? As a cognitive part of that managerial position that you have, how does that look like?
Yeah.
To that?
Well, I'm hoping that there was only one COVID season and one COVID season ever and never again. But during that time, obviously, it was really tough. I think it was tough for everybody because a lot of people lost their jobs. They weren't shopping anywhere, not online, not in stores. It was really just hunkering down. So let's just hope that there's no pandemic again, because I think I don't think online or brick and mortar matters in that situation because I think the whole economy kind of grinds to a halt at that point, like it did. So let's hope not. But like I said, I think like my Apple example, I think it's a symbiotic relationship. I think everybody had the alarms going when Amazon and people started having online. It was more of like, how can we partner? And that's worked so well for us because what the online retailers tell us now, so like Built started completely online, right? They have a term something called the halo effect. Do you know what that means? So when an online store opens a store that's physical in any town, they measure what is called the halo effect, meaning they have an uptick in sales on their online platform from opening a store in that town, in the surrounding area, because they've seen the brand physically. They drove past it, they walked past it.
Yeah.
So it's actually a very like partnership kind of mentality at this point between us.
Question right here.
Yeah, one over there.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how you all felt when stores said they were closing, like Macy's, Sears. They say like, "Oh, we're closing stores this year."
Yeah.
So, do you see that as an opportunity, or do you see that as, like, kind of like it's an opportunity, but it's also sad that they're closing because they're deciding to move more online? Like, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, some of them will close. I mean, you probably heard Forever 21 filed for bankruptcy last week. Yeah, so they've been around for a long time. That's just kind of the nature of the business. I think every setback in life is an opportunity at the end of the day. Especially with being at Oak Brook, I'm kind of lucky because all of the department stores and mostly the retailers do fairly well, except for the ones that nationally go bankrupt. But I think we find it as an opportunity. So I'll give you a good example. When I was in Old Orchard, we had a Bloomingdale's department store. It was 200,000 square feet, right? Bloomingdale's came to us and said, "Hey, we're changing our concept. We're doing a little bit online. We still love the store and love the community that we're in." So we worked with them to carve out a 50,000 square foot space, so 1/4 of the size of what their building was. And while we're negotiating that, we're trying to figure out what we do with that end of the mall. And you could look it up in the news at Old Orchard, but now when I was leaving, we were planning on doing like 1,200 residential units. So adding inventory of living space to the community with amenities already built in, like in the mall, like a Starbucks, or you could go to brunch or a gym or whatever it is, and working spaces. So a lot of times you're in a thriving community. It's just how do you turn that into an opportunity instead of a setback? Yes.
Which project has been your favorite personally? You mentioned the Barbie truck and also like the gym, like menswear.
Yeah.
Do you have them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, those two were awesome. I think working on the one that I just talked about, the Bloomingdale's building, because that's you got to really think high level, and go to the city and convince them that this is a good idea and work on affordable housing with them. Like, how much do you guys need for us to be able to do this? How many affordable housing units would you guys like? And really partnering with them. And it was really fun seeing that process kind of play out from like my point of view. Going to hearings, presenting at hearings, things like that. So I would say that I think early on in my career, we were building a restaurant. Have you guys heard of Hampton Social? So when Hampton Social was opening their locations, it was a really popular restaurant downtown. They didn't have any suburban locations. And Skokie's health department had, they were kind of old school. So they wouldn't let us do the storefront a certain way, where Hampton loves to just open up the windows and it was just like free flowing air. And I was pretty proud because they wouldn't allow us, and we couldn't build the restaurant the way they wanted to until we could get approval. So I literally asked the mayor of Skokie to have drinks with me downtown at Hampton Social. And I had Hampton Social sit us by the window and, maybe after a couple of hot cocktails, like kind of slide in and basically say, hey, listen, man, we're in one of the busiest cities in the world. Chicago, one of the top cities in the world. They don't have an issue with this. Why does Skokie have an issue with this? And he looked around, he said, you're right. So in the next hearing, he made an exception for us. And then we set a precedent at Skokie forever to be able to do those types of build outs.
Wow.
So I was really, really proud of that one. I think
Yeah.
just think outside of the box and just like make shit happen.
Hi, I have a question.
Oh yeah.
Are you hiring just for these two positions, or are you hiring other positions? If so, what are the immediate priorities for this role, and what are you looking for when you're hiring for the position? What type of candidate are you looking for in these roles?
I don't think we've talked about any positions that are open, but we do have some HR folks in the building that can speak on that. What was the other part of the question? Maybe I can help answer.
What do you look for when you're in a candidate when you're filling the position?
We're looking for people that are self-starters, they're motivated, punctual, teamwork, all of those things, and really like collaborators. So I would say my advice in terms of like interview prep would be do your research. Like a lot of companies love, they love if you're prepared. So if you're interviewing with me and you've done your research on Brookfield, even like latest articles of things that the company's been doing, or tailor it to your position that you're applying for, they would be super impressed if they said, oh, I heard you guys made an investment into green energy last week, and it's being talked about. Like, they really respect that. The other point of research that I was saying is, again, go out to your network, find out who works for that company that you're applying to, and try to make that connection and have them make a recommendation for you. What else? I think I had some other notes on just interview prep for you guys.
Serge, if you don't mind, on the spirit of the question,
Yeah.
you just types of roles, like say if students were interested, walking away from today, in property management, entry level roles, or career students can consider. Might be helpful if you want to add to that.
For sure. Yeah, I would say in some cases, like a property management associate, it really gives you an idea of like the full groundwork of what we do, and you work with different departments. And I feel like that could be a great entry level role because you're working with new brands that want to do pop-ups at the mall, but also working on it could be anything in the common area. It could be like infrastructure projects or anything like that. So you kind of get the full scope of experience to really understand where you want to take your career. Go ahead.
Either way, in a while.
Sorry.
My question doesn't pertain to the mall itself. It's more so you kept mentioning plans of construction. I myself am a pursuer of architectural design.
Yeah.
And which who initially solidified the idea of the design plan for these stores? Like what process does that go through?
So each store, like if you're building a Louis Vuitton or Zara or basically any of the big players that you know, or Aritzia, they have a current prototype or architectural design of all their stores because they mostly want to all match. The only ones that I haven't seen do that, which is kind of unique, is Lululemon. Lululemon has a different design for every single store they build, which is kind of unique. So they'll have a whole different layout, whole different storefront. So no Lululemon, up until this point at least, has been the same. But to answer your question, from a mall standpoint, we may have some criteria like the storefront can only be this height because it's got to match all the neighbors, or like your blade sign branding has to be the same height as everybody else, because then if you want like a nice clean path with a nice sight line to everybody, so you kind of want that matching. But outside of those criteria, they can design the store as long as it passes code and the certificate of occupancy from the town that we're in. We're all for it.
And as far as your, how do I put this? The architectures themselves, I'm like, do you have your own personal architecture for those said properties? Or do you have a set company that you go to for that?
Yeah, we have an in-house team that works directly with the construction people of like the build outs. It could be everything from like a small store like Aritzia or like a huge department store or like a Punch Shack or like a major build out. So a lot of times it's our own in-house people that are project managers in construction, and they work together with those architects. Go ahead.
I wanted to piggyback off of her question in the front about small businesses. When choosing like what small businesses you guys want to be in the mall, or what does like that process look like? Because I imagine it being like Shark Tank, almost that
Could be.
process. So I just wanted to get more like insight on like how do you guys decide on what small businesses or just any business goes into the mall?
Yeah, I'll say it becomes more and more like Shark Tank when you don't have proof of your concept.
Right.
So like if you come to me and you're like, I want to open a sneaker store, I'm gonna be like, okay, can you show me a picture of the sneaker store that you currently own? Or like, have you done this before? Because you're gonna make me really nervous if you've never ran a sneaker store and you want to just like open one, you know what I mean? So that might, necessitate like you submitting a business plan or like what your business is all about, your mission, everything. Obviously for the more established pop-ups, if you have a small business and you have a few locations, you could literally take me there and show me how it works, what it looks like. Usually we'll ask for financials, like how much sales you're doing versus like the rent that you're paying, things like that, to really get an understanding of how healthy you can be in not only Oakbrook, but just like any of our malls.
Follow-up question. When looking at those stores, within that process, do you guys look at how much that store is bringing in also? Or is it just like, I see the potential, I think this will be a really good store to put in the mall? Like, what is that?
You're asking of like if we're looking at a store that isn't currently at the shopping center, right? Yeah, I mean, we look at all those things like usually before we sign a lease, especially if it's somebody who's new to the business or only has a few locations, we have a pretty extensive like credit review process where we would need financials, how the business is doing, because we need to know how healthy it is. and then go from there. But also there's things like if you're opening a sneaker store, I'm not going to put you next to Champs Sports or Finish Line because unless you're like a long-term retailer as well. So it's like really understanding the mix. Like I would put those two next to each other, but I won't necessarily put like a pop-up sneaker store next to them because it's kind of like um not rude, but you know what I mean? Like it's not good business practice.
We had Eduardo.
I had a quick question on what modifications and accommodations are done at your store and what is the process to get those done? A lot of people, because I'm going for education, so a lot of my students have autism. They're not very good at stores, not good at public places. Your store differ in that? Is there more accommodations for stuff like that?
Well, let's make a distinction. We're more in the real estate business side. So, I know a lot of the stores have connections with special ed, vocational schools, things like that. I actually worked with one in Skokie, I think it was called Turning Point, where we would partner with retailers to give vocational experience to a lot of LD kids and make sure that they have the skills to actually go out in the workforce and be confident. So yeah, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now spinning from architectural to a more business person.
Uh-oh.
Hey.
Now you're making me nervous.
Two things I want to do: be an architect and be in that business.
Yeah, you could do both, you know.
Exactly. I also got engineering on the side too.
You could do all three.
But moving past that, spinning off her question with the small business, you see like key potential in them. Do you ever like accommodate them? Like, you want this to be a success, but not a lot of people are coming into that store. Would you ever try to help them, like suggest any ideas that they can bring in more business into their stores? Or is like a sink or swim, they gotta handle it themselves as long as they pay the rent?
No, we definitely help out a lot. And especially if it's like a small business or a pop-up. I've been around this business for like almost 20 years already, including the internship at Harlem Irving, my 13 years at Old Orchard, and now at Oak Brook. So I've seen a lot of things. I've seen how things are merchandised. Like I'll give you an example. We had two women who are entrepreneurs out of Chicago. They wanted to open like a candle shop and lotions and things like that. Very small, but they did it amazing. Like really cool looking storefront. Really, really beautiful candles that they made in their garage. But like every time I walked past them and they were complaining that they weren't getting the business, and I walked past their store and they were really playing up these CBD candles that they have, which is like a very small segment of their product, right? And this was back when like cannabis was kind of a weird subject. This was maybe 8-10 years ago, where I kept telling them, I'm like, if you're only advertising this, you might be missing you're not casting a wide enough net for your product. And I'm just telling you what I see because I've seen this before. So, they changed their marketing a little bit and their advertising to kind of just, there were so many stay-at-home moms that came through that mall. There were so many people that were like, we had a really big home goods section, things like that. Once they played to that customer, their sales actually rose. So that would be a good example of us kind of letting them know, just based on our experience, what works and what doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I could be wrong too, sometimes too, but we give advice when we can.
Give an online question. It looks like, what does the
Career
Tiffany
development.
was asking about what the career development looks like at the organization.
Dan, you want to handle that one?
what does career development? So in terms of, I'm trying to think of like trajectory, or is it what we
Training.
offer like internally? I know that from a development standpoint, we have other leadership orgs within the company that offer that training and development. And I know we have certain like peer mentorship programs that you'll be able to join in order to get those development, what's the word I'm looking for, like development depending on what your interests are, you can pull in certain managers. But off the top of my head, I can pull kind of a list of all of the different orgs that we have inside to see, and I can send that over.
Yeah, and our HR department actually offers the opportunity to connect with you in regarding where you want to see your career heading. You know, if there's an opportunity for growth within the company and you feel like maybe you're not there yet, they will offer advice, recommendations on what you can do to improve where you currently are, to reach for that point. So I think that's incredible. I actually just joined the team about 5-6 months ago, so you can see that they're really dedicated to your growth, which is really cool.
And I just want to point out to those of you who are education majors who are in the space, doing that kind of work of human development within an organization, an education degree is actually very beneficial to that in companies like this.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Another question in the chat. What does Tiffany asks, what does the career development
we
look
just
like?
answered
Are you guys hiring master students? Hiring masters.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I dropped my name in the chat and also my email, but I can of course give that to all of you for a full list of our openings, because not only do we have our corporate office here in Chicago, but we're across 40 states. So we have openings at all of our mall properties. So depending on once you graduate, where you want to go, there might be an opening at a property that's, entry, a great way for you to get into the industry. And I can send you, a full list of those openings so you can see if once you graduate, there's something for you.
And we do have properties in Vegas and Hawaii, just
That's
saying.
right. Yep.
Just saying.
I do want to do a quick plug as well while we're on this. Brookfield Properties and Dane and everyone are going to be at our career fair at the end of this month too. So if you want to pick up that conversation for more in depth and learn from more members, April 28th, the career fair for any seniors looking for full-time ones.
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll be back.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
And you roll
The engineer, the architect, and the businesswoman. Go ahead.
Any roles for freshmen? God, I need somebody too.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Dane, you want to just take a quiz on that?
I can bring that up with the leadership team.
Yeah.
My boss. Might have to do that.
You do summer internships.
Yes, we do summer internship programs. It's a 12-week paid internship. And for this year, upcoming summer 2025, we have all of our internship slots filled, but we tend to look for students that are in their junior year, heading into their senior year. So to add on to the development part, so that we can develop our interns to then in hope offer them a full-time role in the company once they graduate.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what is the other number one reason why stores may leave? Like I don't know if you know about River Oaks Mall, but it used to have like a lot of stores, and now it has like maybe 10, 12.
Yeah.
But what is another reason besides online shopping and the pandemic? Have you seen decline in stores staying after they make some money?
It's tough because it's different from any mall to any mall. You know what I mean? There's different issues. So it could be like if you were in a super industrious town which has lost its factories, then maybe the malls are struggling because people can't afford to buy the clothes they're selling anymore because they lost their jobs or whatever it is. There could be a reason, like it could be a million different reasons. There could be competition, not only online, just maybe a new retail center open a mile away that everybody wants to go to instead. Maybe they're just not doing the business there. Maybe people are moving out of that town where the population used to be more than it was to support that mall. You know what I mean? There could be so many different reasons.
So that leads to my burning question that I've had in my head, and I was like, should I ask this question?
Yes, please.
Given
We got a good roll.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
given the tariffs situation that's happening right now, how do you potentially foresee that impacting retail?
Great question.
It could. I mean, we're
Set up.
the market. What's that?
I said set up to be, I think, Brookfield itself in a stable position, but in the field, at the mall level, like between the actual brands?
Yeah, I think it really is going to affect, it's a trickle effect to us because our brands are going to struggle to source textiles and clothing and because they like Lulu or Nike or anybody, they source from all over the world. So of course they're going to feel a pinch, which then their executives are going to come to our executives and say, hey, we're struggling here, we need your help. And we most likely like work out some kind of agreement or figure out what happens with the tariffs long term, because right now it's like a roller coaster. We don't know what's happening. So I feel like it's hard to navigate with our retail partners until everything kind of like the dust settles.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so she mentioned education. How does that fit? Because currently preschool teacher is going into fifth grade. How does that work with real estate and property managing?
Yeah, I mean, go
I
ahead.
could actually add into that. So a lot, there's like HR undergrad students that are teachers. A lot of that segue could be into like HR, human resources. That's the profile that we tend to look for. A lot of our interns are studying special education, and actually we had one of our summer interns last year that was studying special education that interned in our HR department. You see a lot of psychology majors go into HR just because there's that human element and understanding that goes really well into that career trajectory. So if I, off the top of my head, was to think based off of your major, if you're interested, I think that that's a great segue.
Training and development, if you know how to design.
Yep,
curriculum,
learning and development.
That's putting together a curriculum.
Yep.
You learn how to do that in your major. Any, Dakota?
Yes, sir.
Last one.
My question is more so about, thank you. So in regards to event planning and program starting, I think you mentioned how you work with like local towns and like businesses to decide whether or not a program's going to get made. So I was going to say, what factors contribute to what program is specifically being made? Do you look at like data records or information from like past events?
Yeah, we'll do like obviously it's got to work for the community and also in some way improve our business as well. So like we have a movie series we have like a big thing we call the lawn. It's a big turf field with a big screen in front of it. And I think we chose to do it on Wednesdays because if you do it on a Friday or Saturday, the mall's already busy, right? So how do you get a little bit more traffic in the middle of the week when people are working or they just want to break and bring their kids to, like, it's beautiful out, let's just, instead of like cooking dinner at home, maybe we grab something from the mall, go sit on the lawn and add a little bit more traffic. So it's got to be strategic, you know what I mean? So think about it that way. Also, like if we know that there's a category of retailers that maybe are struggling or something like that, so you make an event to support them and drive specific customers that we know will shop at those stores.
Okay. You have a program to like measure this kind of thing?
We use a lot of different avenues. It could be surveys, like even on-site surveys. There's a new company called Placer AI that basically takes all of our cell phone data and anonymizes it, but also sells it as like demographics or like traffic flow patterns between different sites. You know what I mean? So we can kind of tell where our people are coming from, what towns they're coming from, even like what jobs are prevalent in those towns, and kind of make a educated guess on how to market to those people.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's put our hands together. Thank you very much to the team here for Brookfield Properties. We appreciate it. Thank you all. We appreciate it. Did want to wrap up. I know we're at time. Again, reminder, Brookfield Properties team, they're going to hang out here for a couple minutes. So if you're not running off the class or anything, you want to come say hey, feel free. And then also they will be at the career fair on April 28th.
April 28th.
April 28th. You'll see more of that, and you're going to see more emails. But thank you very much. We appreciate you having us in the space, and great way to kick off the first week of class. So
And if
thank
there's
you all.
other employers you want us to bring into this space to have conversations with, let no one know, and we can have another employer spotlight.
That's my job.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
You all.
Thanks. Yeah, I that for the
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks so much for doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, she wants to start off well.
Yes.
Hey, nice to meet
He's Angel, that's actually one of our service.
15, 20.